I feel the earth move. I feel the tumbling down, the tumbling down.
He turned his transponder off, so we don't have a definitive altitude for him. We're just going by, they seem to think that they have him on a primary radar, they seem to think that he is descending.
Okay.
Yeah.
An estimated $110 million worth of art was lost in the September 11 attacks. $100 million in private art and $10 million in public art. Much of the art was not insured for its full value. In October 2001, a spokesperson for insurance specialists, AXA Art, described the attacks as, quote, the biggest single disaster ever to affect the art industry, unquote. The Port Authority held an estimated 100 pieces of artwork at the World Trade Center complex, in addition to the 7 public works of art that had been created for the World Trade Center, all of which were destroyed or severely damaged. The offices of brokerage house Cantor Fitzgerald reportedly contained 300 Rodin sculptures. A cast of Auguste Rodin's The Thinker actually survived the destruction, and it reportedly resurfaced, but disappeared again.
The skyline of Manhattan no longer exists the way it did an hour and a half and 2 hours ago.
There were 8 one-of-a-kind public works of art in the World Trade Center complex at the time of the attacks. Bent Propeller by Alexander Calder, 1970. The main elements of the sculpture were 3 sheets of curved metal linked together to form a static work, resting under its own weight, making it what Calder called a stay-bile, as opposed to his famous mobile sculptures. It was reminiscent of a ship's propeller. The Sphere by Frisch Kunitsch, 1971. The creation of the originally titled Grosse Kugelkaryatid in Upsilon dates back to the 1960s and early 1970s. At the time, Fritz Koenig was established as an artist in the United States. After the World Trade Center's architect, Yamasaki Minoru, had seen the work of the German sculptor in the George W. Stempfli Gallery in New York, he asked Kunitsch to create a sculpture, including a fountain, for the space between the World Trade Center's twin towers, which were then under construction. With his sculpture, Kunitsch wanted to mark a formal contrast to the skyscrapers, mounted on a periphery disc measuring 3.3 feet with a diameter of 82 feet. The sphere rotated once around its axis within 15 minutes. 160 gallons of water per second flowed out of the nozzles of the Associated Plaza fountain. The well water was sprayed in a ring running around the sphere onto a flat surface adjacent to the sphere. This would give the impression that the spherical caryatid rises out of the water. The highly complex technology of the system was designed at the Institute for Hydrology and River Basin Management at the Technical University of Munich. Kunitsch had been a lecturer since 1964. The largest bronze sculpture of modern times weighs over 20 tons, is 25 feet high, and has a diameter of 17 feet. Koenig called it his biggest child. In 1971, the sphere was installed on the World Trade Center's plaza. The sculpture, including the fountain, marked the center of the development and was a popular meeting place for New Yorkers. The work of art was dedicated to world peace through trade. The World Trade Center Plaza sculpture, also called Cloud Fortress, was a sculpture created by Japanese artist Nagare Masayuki. Measuring 14 feet tall, 34 feet wide, and 17 feet deep, Cloud Fortress was completed in 1975 and depicted an abstraction of 2 pyramids attached at their bases and tilted upward. Although appearing solid, the work consisted of a veneer of black Swedish granite over a steel and concrete armature. Nagare incorporated a technique he called warahara, literally cracked skin or broken texture, to feature contrasting, polished and rough faces. Cloud Fortress occupied a minor plaza between buildings 4 and 5 that gave access from Church Street to the large Austin J. Tobin Plaza, central to the complex of World Trade Center buildings. The sculpture survived the immediate attacks and collapse of the adjacent buildings, both demolished several days later by emergency efforts to access and clear the site and provide a stable area for heavy machinery to further access Austin J. Tobin Plaza. Following the sculpture's demolition, its remains were removed from ground zero along with the rest of the rubble. In 2004, Nagare created a one-half replica and named it Cloud Fortress Jr. It is on display at the Hokkaido Museum of Modern Art. Ideogram by James Rosati, 1972, located in front of the Marriott World Trade Center. Though the sculpture may have survived the attacks, its steel material was indistinguishable from the Ground Zero rubble. As a result, the sculpture was never recovered, and its remains were removed from Ground Zero along with the rest of the rubble. The World Trade Center tapestry was a large tapestry by Joan Miro and Josep Royo. It was displayed in the lobby of 2 World Trade Center, the South Tower, from 1974 until it was destroyed in the September 11 attacks.
Miro has always been in touch with the mysteries of the night. He knows that you can see further by night than by day. His dreams are populated with nocturnal creatures, but seen in broad daylight. Harlequin's Carnival, thronged with fantastic, irrational creatures, was painted in 1924. It astonished even his friends. Miro enjoyed delving into the unconscious. The irrational nature of dreams provided him in 1926 with this theme: dog barking at the moon. The potato, putting his own initial in the palm of the hand. The dreams began to change into nightmares. The political situation throughout Europe was getting worse. Paintings like Man and Woman in Front of a Pile of Excrement of 1935 gave a sense of the coming disaster. In July 1936, the fascists invaded Spain. He painted this great mural, The Reaper, for the Paris International Exhibition of 1937. The original has been lost. Only this black and white photograph remains. The Reaper was shown alongside Picasso's Guernica.
Saul Winograd, former director of the art program for the Port Authority of New York, had suggested to Miro that he could make a tapestry for the World Trade Center, but the artist declined, as he would only make the work with his own hands, but had no experience of making a tapestry. However, after his daughter recovered from an accident in Spain, Miro agreed to make a tapestry for the hospital that had treated her as a token of his gratitude, having learned the technique from tapestry maker Josep Royo. Miro made several other tapestries with Royo, including one for the World Trade Center, Woman for the National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C., and one for the Fondation Jean Moreau. The work was an abstract design with bright blocks of color, red, green, blue, and yellow, with black elements and a light brown background. Made of wool and hemp, it measured 20 by 35 feet and weighed 4 tons. It was completed in 1973 and displayed at a retrospective at the Grand Palais in Paris before being installed in New York City, 1974. The tapestry was totally destroyed during the September 11 attacks.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? Emergency has been reported in the building. Please leave the building by the nearest exit. Do not use the elevators. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? A fire emergency has been reported in the building. Please leave the building by the nearest exit. Do not use the elevators. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? A fire emergency has been reported in the building. Please leave the building by the nearest exit. Do not use the elevators. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please?
Be too revealing. In other words, I wouldn't give the public the right to superimpose on what I wanted. What my work did for me is I didn't do work for the public. I didn't make sculpture or painting. I was searching like some man or some being. They go in gold mines and they go and they search and they dig, or they go to silver, or they go to diamond mine. They dig to find the diamonds, to find the gold. Well, I was digging to find what life was about. Still digging a little.
Skygate, New York, was a sculpture by the artist Louise Nevelson, located in the mezzanine of the North Tower from 1978 until its 2001 destruction.
Let's stand them against here so I don't forget. I want that out. Sweetie. Yeah. See, I want it. You can even bend it a little. Can you bend it a half an inch up there? A little bit.
The largest work the sculptor had created to date, the wall piece, was 32 feet wide, 17 feet tall, and 1 foot thick, and comprised more than 35 segments, each a dark painted wood relief.
Please, dear, give me this back. Yeah. Up here. This way. Just so, yeah. And I'll tell you why. Okay, that's fine. I was searching, and I began to see forms and possibilities in the ready-made object.
¿Cuánto que es esto? La puta, no me da el cuerpo. Es un poco alto.
But even the PLO did not speak for all Palestinians. The fundamentalist group Hamas had just kidnapped an Israeli police officer and murdered him.
A possible breakthrough toward peace tonight in the Middle East. Secretary of State James Baker opened a new round of negotiations with Israel's Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, just hours after his new cabinet agreed to freeze planned settlements in the West Bank.
There is now some new opportunities presented, and I hope that we will see those reflected in movement.
The Bush administration now has a chance of recapturing some of the Jewish votes it lost when relations took a dive under Shamir. Key to that would be the granting of at least part of the $10 billion worth of loan guarantees. Palestinians have listened to Rabin promise to accelerate negotiations leading to full autonomy for people on the West Bank and Gaza. Baker will meet Palestinian leaders here tomorrow. You will find them optimistic, but cautious.
Rather than the verbal declarations and changes in attitudes and tone, we are looking for the right steps for the implementation in order to give us some reason to hope.
This is Channel 2 News at 5.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ernie Anastas.
And I'm Carol Martin. We continue now our coverage of the terror that has struck the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. Police say that it may in fact have been a bomb, a massive bomb, that caused an explosion to rip through the PATH train station below the Trade Centers just after noon today.
You're going to get to this.
There you go. How you feeling, sir? Everything all right?
What do you want me on TV? Hi, Anthony.
You're not supposed to be smiling and laughing at people. You're supposed to be upset.
Hey, wasn't that like I'm dying? Got it. What story?
Where do we have to go?
That just came out of your nose?
Yes!
You're not filming mine.
So we're breathing this is what you're saying?
You're not filming my nose, Tony.
There seems to be a lot of fire.
The 1993 World Trade Center Bombing Memorial was created to commemorate the 6 lives lost during the February 26, 1993 bombing of the World Trade Center. Designed by Ellen Zimmerman, the memorial and its surroundings were intentionally made to resemble a bullseye when observed from a bird's eye view, as it was situated directly above the Ground Zero site of the bombing, between One World Trade Center and the Marriott World Trade Center Hotel. The interior of the fountain had purposely cracked white granite walls that evoked the appearance of ancient tumulus markers, mounds of earth raised over graves. In explaining her creative process in designing the walls, Zimmerman noted, "Stone has cultural references as monuments and tumulus mounds. I didn't feel intimidated by that. Rather, I felt it adds dignity to the work." I went back to some of the books I had looked at and thought of these tumulus mounds and how from time immemorial, people captured the experience of passage, entombing people who were important to their culture. They would do it to these mound-like structures. Very early on, you had things like Stonehenge and those kinds of mound structures. But around the first millennium BC, you got not just mounds of earth, but actual constructions of cut stone mixed in with rubble and earth. I was inspired by these. I was also attracted to their minimalist form. I came out of a period in the art world when there was a strong influence of minimalism. I found these forms very powerful, very engaging. They're iconic. That's what I began to think about, and I developed the World Trade Center form. It has a combination of very rough, white granite that's broken into large chunks, forming the walls, and it's topped and finished and held in place by polished granite pieces. The walls enclosed a shallow pool that collected water flowing from a hole in the fountain's central red granite drum. Zimmerman further notes, the underlying idea was that there would be an inscription of some sort. I decided to try to make a form that might bring people closer to it. In order to read the inscription, they'd have to walk up to it and look inside.
Это когда взорвали вот этот билдинг один, и после этого поставили как бы фонтан потерпевшим бедствий.
Для уверенности, что нам написано.
All of the memorial's inscriptions were arranged circumferentially. The chief inscription, etched into the red granite of the memorial, read, "On February 26, 1993, a bomb set by terrorists exploded below this site. This horrible act of violence killed innocent people, injured thousands, and made victims of us all." Out of respect for the families of victims Wilfredo Mercado and Monica Rodriguez Smith, Zimmerman included a Spanish translation of the corresponding inscription, found directly below its English counterpart. The names of each of the 6 victims, all World Trade Center employees, were also etched into the fountain. The fountain was destroyed with the rest of the World Trade Center during the September 11 attacks. After assessing the destruction of the memorial, along with the rest of the World Trade Center complex, only a single fragment of the inscribed granite marked John D. from the name John DiGiovanni was found intact at Ground Zero. The fragment is currently located at the National September 11 Memorial and Museum. And the final sculpture, World Trade Center Peace on Earth sculpture from 1998.
In between two towers, and we'll give you just an impression of what it is that we're looking at here. This is the bottom. This is the bottom of the towers here.
Hey, Daddy.
And yeah, I'm not. You see, the building goes up into the clouds. Okay, Patty's taking a picture of Mom. Seeing as how it's so overcast and cloudy and no visibility, what we're going to do is we're going to go catch a ride on a Staten Island ferry. And we can figure out how to get there. Oh, there's a street right over there, so we go out that way. You girls are so wacky.
We are so.
Okay, so we're going out to the street here. And we're going to catch a taxi over to the Staten Island ferry. Get some hot cocoa. We can sit.
Definitely be on the inside.
Get a little bit of the skyline. See the Statue of Liberty and stuff like that. Okay?
Yeah.
That's a deal. Now here we go. We're going there. We're going. What a wacky crew. Well, a little foreground here. Whoops. Whoops. Where is she going? Oh, the music is lovely. What?
The greatest bar on Earth, located within Windows on the World in One World Trade Center, contained 4 blown glass, nickel-plated bronze, steel, and fiber optic light sculptures, collectively named Skyscrapers, by Dan Daly. These sculptures were destroyed in the attacks. The Lower Manhattan Cultural Council had its offices in Building 5 of the World Trade Center and 2 studios on the 91st and 92nd floors of the North Tower. The council hosted an artist-in-residency program called World Views, which hosted 15 artists from around the globe and was supposed to run from May to November 2001. The 15 artists worked in the studios in the North Tower. Nearly all of their artwork was lost in the attack on and subsequent collapse of the towers. At least one of the artists, Jamaican-born sculptor Michael Richards, also died in the attacks. Richards had worked through the night in the towers on an unfinished sculpture, a memorial piece dedicated to the Tuskegee Airmen, which portrayed a pilot riding a burning meteor.
about. Around here you got all kinds of stuff. This weird ball thing, not sure what that's about. Flowers. People wanting to sell you stuff, t-shirts or whatnot. This thing, which is actually not so bad. What do you think? Hey! Well, what do you think?
Well, very up.
Oh yeah, like this? You know what someone told me? Someone told me that if you stand right next to the trade towers and look straight up, it'll make you fall over because your equilibrium gets messed up. You want to try it? Yeah. Alright, let's go.
Ich habe jetzt keine Drehscheiben da. Das ist sehr schwer. Schönst. Hat auch was von einem Helm, von einem Footballspielerhelm oder von einer Schutzmaske, von einem Astronauten, Besteck und das alles vielleicht drin, weißt du?
Oh, yeah, right. It came from Germany?
Ja, das ist, und das ist to made a cast.
Yeah.
Fertig.
Oh, is it bronze?
Ja, Bronze.
Bronze, right?
That on the way
Right.
to Bremen. Oh.
Yeah. Thank you.
After the September 11 attacks, upon recovery from the rubble pile, the sphere was dismantled and sent to storage near John F. Kennedy International Airport. There was much discussion about using it as a memorial, especially since it seemed to have survived the attacks relatively intact. The sculpture was eventually returned to Manhattan, and on March 11, 2002, 6 months to the day after the attacks, it was re-erected in Battery Park near the Hope Garden, several blocks away from where it once stood. An online petition created by 9/11 families demanding the return of the sphere to the 9/11 memorial gained more than 7,000 signatures. Officials from the 9/11 memorial stated that they did not want any 9/11 artifacts cluttering the 8-acre memorial plaza. On June 28, 2012, PENTTBOM expressed support for the effort to move the sphere to the plaza of the National September 11 Memorial and Museum. After a public comment by Michael Burke during a meeting of the Board of Commissioners, Executive Director Patrick J. Foy, the point that Mr. Burke made resonates with many people in New York and New Jersey, and many people here at the Port Authority, especially given the fact that 84 members of the Port Authority family were killed on 9/11. This is an artifact that survived and was affected by the horrors of 9/11, and placing it on the Memorial Plaza, we think, is entirely appropriate. On July 22, 2016, the Port Authority voted to move the sculpture to Liberty Park, and in August 2017, PENTTBOM relocated the sculpture to Liberty Park. On September 6, 2017, the sphere was unveiled in its permanent home in Liberty Park, overlooking the World Trade Center site.